Hi there, this is Mr. Khan from 11 Plus and GCSE Coach. In this video, we're looking at Roman numerals. What are the usages of Roman numerals and why are they still around? So let's get started. So, in the ancient Roman times, the Romans used to use letters to represent numbers. So on the screen, you see the letters they used to use for the common numbers they had at that time. Um, After a while, the numbers obviously were not very useful for complicated maths, and they were replaced by Arabic numerals, the number system that we use today, the numerals that we have from 1 to 9. Um, that was introduced to the Western world, so they became the prominent way of using numbers. So they're known as the Arabic numerals. However, Roman numerals are still around. You see them on clock faces, for example. So the analog clocks with the hands going around the clock face. Some of the clocks still have the Roman numerals on them. Sometimes the kings and queens of England, they have Roman numerals after their names. For example, Elizabeth the second will have Elizabeth and one II after her name, and so on. Anyway, so the letters you see on the screen, I, V, X, L, C, D, and M, they represent certain values which you can see on the side. And the combination of these letters will make different numbers, which we will have a look at in a minute. So, for example, the letter I represents 1, V represents 5, X represents 10, L equals to 50, C equals to 100, D equals to 500, and M equals to 1000. So, how are they used? So, let's have a look at some examples. So, but before we look at examples, actually, we need to look at some rules. So the Roman numerals are made by putting these letters together, but there are certain rules that you must follow. Um, so here's the first rule: repeated numbers are added. So if you have repeated symbols or letters next to each other, that means you add them. However, V, L, and D are never going to be repeated. So remember, V was 5, L was 50, and D was 500. There's a reason for that. We'll talk about that when we look at some examples. You'll never see them repeated. Because if you have, for example, two V's, V and V, instead of saying V, which is 5 plus 5, which is 10, you might as well just say X, which is 10. So there's no point in repeating V's like that. So it's unnecessary to repeat V, L, and D. Only repeat a number 3 times. So whatever the other letters can be repeated, but only a maximum of 3 times. So here are some examples. So if you see the letter C repeated, C represents 100. So 100 plus 100 plus 100 equals to 300. So when you repeat letters, you always add them. That's the first rule. Um, if the larger value comes before the smaller value in Roman numerals, that means you're adding those two values together. So as an example, um, so CXXVI. Now C represents 100 and X represents a 10. So 100 is bigger than 10. So that means you add the 100 to the 10. So 100 plus the 10 plus another X, another 10, that plus another V, which is bigger than I. So another 5 and I, which is 1. So you add them all together, you get 126 as a final value. The next rule is this: if you have a smaller value before a bigger one, that means you take the smaller one away from the bigger one. So you subtract them. So here's an example. Now C is 100 and M is 1000. So 100 is obviously smaller than 1000. So that means 1000 minus 100. So 100 from 1000 it means. So it's 1000 minus 100. And then you have X and C next to each other as well. These two. X is 10 and C is 100. So that means 10 from 100. So that's 100 from 1000 makes 900, and 10 from 100, in other words, 100 minus 10 is 90. So altogether, when you add them all together, the final answer will be 990. I just noticed that it actually helps to do in pairs 2 letters at a time, so you can see if you're adding or taking away before moving on to the next 2 letters. So this makes life that much easier. So do CM first, work out what that is, then work out XC, work out what that is, and so on and so forth. Um, so the fourth rule is only subtract one number from another. That means you can only take one number from another at any one time. So an example would be 80. The number 80, for example, is LXXX. So basically, that's the way of making 80 is 50. L is 50 plus x plus x, which is 30, 30, 30, which makes, sorry, which 10, 10, 10, which makes 30, which means 50 plus 30 is 80 altogether. However, what you can't do is something like this. You can't say, for example, let's say C is 100, so why don't I take 20 away from C to make 80? Because to take away 20, you have to get two x's together, and you can't take away two digits from a number in Roman numerals. That's the rule that you must follow. That's why this actual value will be not 80. Instead, it will be a wrong way of writing. For example, x will be 10, but the next two values here, x and c, x is less than c, which is 10 less than 100, which is 90. That's a long-winded way of saying 100, basically, which will be incorrect. So you don't do more than one letter at a time. You can only take one letter at a time from the number in Roman numerals. The next one is only subtract I, x, and c, and not v, l, and d. So you can't take away v, l, d from any number. You can't take away I, x, and c. And again, for the same reason I mentioned earlier, as rule number one, v means 5. So if you're taking 5 away, let's say from a 10, you'll end up with a 5 again. So you can't take away 5 because you end up with a v. So v, writing vx is equal to v, because vx would mean 5 take away from 10, which is just 5. So that's just going to not work. So you don't take away these letters away from the numbers. You only take away I, x, and c from the numbers after them. Next rule, so here's an example here actually. 450 is CDL. Now, which C obviously is 100, um, but D is 500. So that's 100 is before the 500, it's a small number before the big number. So you take it away. 100 from 500 is 400, and L is just 50. So you add it on. So what you can't do is, okay, what you can't start thinking, so why don't I take away L from D? Now, in this case, L, you can't take away L from the number, remember? So that will be the incorrect way of writing the number 450. So that's one thing to remember. So you only take away I, X, and C. V, L, and D will never be taken away from the another number. The next one is only subtract the nearest value out of I, X, and C. Now, what do I mean by that? So if I was to write these values here, we said earlier, so for example, you have I V, X, C, L, D. Sorry, I said the other way around. So it's uh, L before C. So these two are incorrect. So it's X 10. So then it's 50. Then it's 100 C. Then it's 500. Then it's 1,000. So what this rule means is only subtract the nearest value out of I, X, and C. So for example, you don't take away. Remember, these are the ones that can be taken away firstly. So I, X, and C. So you take away C from the D, for example, or M, but what you don't take away is X from D or M. X is not the nearest one from D and M. You can only take away I, X, and C. So you only can take away 100 from 500 or 100 from 1,000, but you can't take away X from 500, X from 1,000, because that's not the nearest one. So only I, so I can only be taken away from V. You can't take away anything else from V, and X can only be taken away from L or C. So you can take away 10 from 100, but X will not be taken away from D or an M. So just keep that in mind. So for example, here is 490 is made up of 400 will be 500 minus 100. So 500 is over here, which is D. Take away C. C is the closest one that can be taken away. So 500 minus 100 will be 400. And then you take away 10 from C. So X from C would give you 90. So altogether will be 490. The incorrect way of saying that will be XD. Now X is 10 and D is 500. So if you notice, D, the only thing that can take away from D is the letter C, not X. X is not the closest one away. So you can't take away X from D to make 490. So that'll be incorrect way of doing this number here. So keep these rules in mind. Hopefully that will make life easier. So let's have a look at some examples. I have X, L, I, V. So what does that represent in Arabic numerals? X represents 10. L is 50. So 10 can be taken away from 50. So these two here will give you 50 minus 10, which is equal to 40. And you have IV. which is 4. 1 less than 5 is 4. So plus 5 take away 1, which is 4. So 40, this is 40 plus the 4 altogether makes the number 44. The next one is CDIX. C is 100, D is 500, so you can't take away 100 from 500. So that makes 500 minus 100, which is equal to 400. And then you have IX, which is 1 take away from 10. So 1 is smaller than 10, so it must be take away. So 10 minus 1 equals to 9. So altogether that makes 409. So that's a good way of doing these numbers. The next one is the number 50. Now we have to convert the Arabic numerals back into Roman numerals. So the number is 54. So 50 we know is straightforward, is the letter L. So 50 will be just L. And the number 4 is 1 less than 5. So that be IV. Remember, you can take 1 away from 5 to make the letter. It's not writing. LIV will be the one. So L is 50, IV will be 4, 50 plus 4 will be 54. The next one is 995. So the way to make this is split this up in 900 and the 90, then the 5. So 900 will be 100 less than 1,000. So in that case, that will be CM. So 100 less than 1,000 will be CM. Now the 90, that is 10 less than 100, so that be XC. And 5 will be just the letter V. So when you put them all together, you get C, M, X, C, and V. That's your answer for 995. Hopefully that makes some sense. On this slide here, I have some questions from going from Roman numerals to Arabic numerals, and from Arabic numerals back to Roman numerals. I would like you to pause the video and have a go at these questions. And when you're ready, play the video and see if your answers are correct or not. So hopefully you had a go at these questions. So what we have is VI. So that makes 5 plus 1, which is 6, plus 1 more after that, which is the number 7. So what you have is 6 plus 1, which is equal to 7. Remember I said if you split them up in pairs, it makes life that much easier. However, if you look at the next one, if I split them up here, that would be difficult because x plus x is 20. Actually, no, it won't be difficult. X is bigger than v, so it's fine, it'll work. X plus x is 20, and v plus I is 6. And then 1 after that, that makes 20 plus 6 plus 1 is 27. XLIV, X is 10, L is 50, is 10 less than 50, which makes 40. And then IV, 1 less than 5, which is 4. So 40 plus 4 is 44. Hopefully you got that right. In the next question, you have XC. X is 10, C is 100. So smaller before the bigger means you take away. That's 100 minus 10, which is equal to 90. In the last question, you have L, which is worth 50. Then you have 10 plus 10 plus 10 each, and then there's one after that. So what you have is 50. Sorry, I'm back to the wrong slide. So what you have is 50 for L, plus the 10, plus the 10, plus the 10, plus the 1. 50, 60, 70, 80 plus 1 is 81. So the answer for question 5 is equal to 81. Hopefully you got that right. The next number is 39. So you need to make 30 and 9. So the number 30 will be x, x, x. That's 30. And 9 will be 1 less than 10. So it will be ix. That will be answer x, 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 ix. Hopefully you got that right. The number 40 is simply 10 less than 50. So 10 is x, 50 is L. So XL will be the answer. Number 3 is 93. So to make 90, so split them up. 90 will be 10 less than 100. So x is 10, 100 is C. So XC makes 90. And 3 obviously is I. So altogether 93 will be XCII. Hopefully you got that right. The next one is 322. The number 300 will be 3 lots of hundreds. So that be 300 is C. 20 will be 2 x's, x and x. And the number 2 will be I. So when you put them all together, you get C, and hopefully you can appreciate how this can get very long writing a small number. So you can see one of the reasons why Roman numerals didn't last long in the world. 994. So 900, if you have to split them up to make life easier. So 900 is 100 less than 1,000. So 100 is C, 1,000 is M, so CM. 90 is 10 less than 100. So 10 will be X and 100 will be C. And 4 is obviously 1 less than 5. So that's IV. So when you put all these together, your answer will be CM XCIV, which is equal to 994. Hopefully, this makes sense, and you can see the usages of Roman numerals and how to convert them from Arabic numerals and vice versa. Thank you for watching.